Hi guys, welcome back. Dave here at Gertens. Today we're talking about winterizing your yard and garden, and we're going to be talking a little bit about what you should be doing this time of year and a little bit about what you shouldn't be doing this time of year. It's a good opportunity for you guys to fill in with your questions, comments, give us some feedback, let us know if you can hear me okay, and with that we're going to go to some questions.
So one of the viewers asked, earlier this year I heard some experts say we shouldn't do any core aeration because of our drought with the rain we've had. Is it okay to do it now?
It's a great time. Yeah, you can do that. Core aeration is something that you should be doing in spring or in fall. Don't do it in the summertime. It's just going to induce further drying out of the soil. So that's kind of what they were referring to. You don't want to do core aeration in the heat. That's a bad combination. But right now we have kind of some rain came in, and so we're better off. But at this late in the season, I'd probably just refrain from it. It's probably better just to wait till spring. But can you do it? You certainly can.
So what exactly does a winterizer fertilizer do since our lawns aren't growing?
Yeah, so winterizer is a great product. What it does is it does a couple things. There's a natural transition of energy in your lawn blade that goes from the top of the blade down into the root system this time of year. It's slowly kind of reversing, so you're having less top growth. And the fertilizer, the winterizer, will kind of help transfer that energy down into your root system, kind of get it through that hard Minnesota winter. But it also is kind of a springboard fertilizer. It helps get it activated early in the spring, about a good month before your pre-emergents are even put down in the spring. So even before that, the soil starts warming up and it starts activating that winterizer fertilizer, and it puts it to work, and so helps kind of get it out of the gates and puts it to work. So it's a great product. Some people will actually forego their springtime, their step one fertilizer, because what that does is it snuffs out seed from germinating. So instead they want to seed in the spring because they have to prepare for a grad party or something like that, and they want to get it going and kind of fix all that dog damage in their yard or whatever. And so they will skip step one on our pre-emergence, and in place they will do a winterizer. So that's a good option too. So it's a versatile product, and it's a great product. We have it here.
At what height should we mow our lawns for the last time this season, and why? Yeah,
so right now this time of year you should be lowering the deck of your mower, lowering the blade of your mower to about 2.5 inches. Normally it's about 3.5, so drop it a good inch. Don't go too short, because what you'll do is you'll dry out the soil even more, and if Mother Nature doesn't help us out with some rain here, it can dry it out even more. So don't drop it too far. But what that does is it prevents lawn disease and fungal issues from kind of ramping up during the winter months. So in theory, if you have a long blade of grass going into winter, it gets pushed over and gets matted, and then it just festers and promotes fungal issues like disease and rust and snow mold and things like that. So to prevent that, lower your blade a little bit, and it'll bounce back nicer in the spring.
Can you explain dormant seeding? When is the best time to put down the seed?
Yeah, so dormant seeding, a lot of people say, where's your dormant seed? There's no such thing as a dormant seed. It's just a matter of when you do it that makes it different from regular seeding. Dormant seeding is something that you can do after the ground temperature, the soil temperature, has kind of cooled off. It's below that 54-degree soil temperature threshold. Right now we're still kind of flirting with that. During the day the warm temperatures kind of spike up, and so it gets kind of warm, and then at night it drops down. So don't do any seeding right now necessarily. I'd drag your feet another week or two on that. Then you'll be certainly behind, or you'll be beyond that threshold of seed germination. So but dormant seeding, what it is that you put it down in, you scratch up your soil with a metal tine rake, you throw your seed down, about 1/4 inch spacing with your seeds. If you put seed on top of seed, you have too much. You don't need to water it. You don't want to water it. You don't want to do a starter fertilizer. You just want to throw it down and let Mother Nature kind of cover it with snow, and then it comes up in the spring when the soil temperature hits 54 degrees.
So when is the last time that you should be able to dormant seed? What's the window?
Yeah, so it's any time between, I would say you can maybe get away with it right now, but I would push it off until, the first week of December. That's kind of your window of time of when you can dormant seed. It also depends on Mother Nature, so with every question there's always a depends. that follows. But it's that's kind of your window of time. And so I would personally wait another week or two, make sure that you're below that threshold. And right now we're kind of still flirting with that temperature. So, and we're talking about a 2-inch depth, not 6-inch. So it's still warm during the day sometimes.
So we have a viewer asking, if I have a clay yard, what kind of seed should I buy?
Yeah, so whether it's clay or sandy soil or loamy or something in between, it doesn't really matter. There's not really a seed designed for clay. It's more of what you do with that clay and how you prep it. What that means is if you can add a little bit of loam to it, which is like compost or peat moss or things like that, to kind of right the ship. If it's too heavy clay, you can kind of bring it back to a loamier state. And when you do that, it makes your seed a little bit more happy, and it's more likely to grow. Core aeration is another thing you can do for your clay soils. If you have compaction or clay, that's something that will help with that too.
So kind of bouncing off the dormant seed, we have somebody asking, I lost parts of my lawn in the drought. Can I dormant seed those spaces? You
certainly can, yeah. There again, I would probably wait a little bit, but yeah, you certainly can. This drought was devastating to a lot of people this summer, and we're all recovering. So even golf courses got hit hard. I mean, everybody, even if you could water all the time, then you dealt with other issues like fungus, so it was kind of a very tough summer for everybody. But you should be watering a minimum of an inch a week, a minimum of 1 inch per week with your watering. And I realized people were on watering bans. They couldn't always do that. So you do what you can, but you should be watering it as much as you can. But yeah, you can certainly dormant seed your drought damage.
Another question is, can I leave the fallen leaves on my lawn?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. If you leave the leaves on there, what happens is they just get wet and matted, and it just creates a barrier. And what that does is it promotes fungal issues, moisture buildup, and pathogens can take home there, and it's not a good mix. So my advice would be either to mulch those leaves. That's good nitrogen. It's basically just natural fertilizer for your lawn. Or you can do a leaf blower or bag them or whatever. But yeah, don't just leave them. If you're anything like my yard, I've got magnolia trees, and those are the last to fall. And so I'm going to be bagging my leaves for at least 3 more weeks. So I have a ways to go. So hang in there.
What's the difference between vole and mole damage?
Yeah, so voles and moles are those pesky little critters in our lawns. One way to memorize it is voles are vegetarian, V for vole, for vegetarian, and so they are above ground and they're eating organic matter, the grass clippings, the top of your blade of grass all winter long, and they just create those channels in your lawn beneath the snowpack. So that's a vole, and they're like a field mouse, and whether there's one, there's many. And then the mole is more of a meat eater, so we memorize that with the M. So they are eating grubs and earthworms, and they are more below ground, and you'll notice their damage. It's a little bit more prevalent, so it's got volcanoes of dirt, it's got spongy ground, not as much channels, but more of a tunnel. And for that, we do have products. This is one product. I love the name of it. Yeah, I'm thinking the creators of this didn't work for Hallmark. It's called Go Die. So this is a poison, and what it is, it's designed to go in their holes or in their runs, and what it does is they go and investigate it, and they eat it, and then they die in the hole. So you don't have to deal with a carcass. It's just laying on there, and you don't have to worry about like a hawk or an owl or a fox or a coyote coming along and eating that mole and taking in the poison. So it's kind of a good product, so that's something you can do. But yeah.
So we have another viewer saying, this spring I had an issue with vole damage. Is there anything I can do to prevent future damage?
Yeah. So with voles, they're not as much of a threat. I mean, they can do some damage, but the damage they cause is more superficial. It's just on the surface. It's the top of the blade of grass that they're munching on all winter long. And so I'm not too worried about that recovering. It's more of a mole issue than a vole. But yeah, you can do castor oil pellets. There's products you can put in a broadcast spreader and just kind of serpentine through your lawn. There is a right way and a wrong way to do it. You want to start on this side of the problem, work from the house, kind of flush them outwards. So day 1, do a third, day 2, do another third, day 3, finish it off. If you do the whole area at one time, you will confuse them and you may not get rid of them. And if you do a perimeter, you may just box them in. So you really want to kind of escort them out or flush them out. So, but yes, you can certainly use that, and it's organic, so you don't have to worry about it hurting a dog or little kids.
So a viewer says, due to construction, the city laid new sod this spring along my boulevard. Unfortunately, some of it is brown as burnt toast. Should I wait till spring to lift the sod and seed it?
Yeah, that's a tough one. So sod, if you leave it, if it's dead and you leave it, what you're fighting is a carpet barrier, and that will never grow. Seed can grow on top of it, but it'll never impregnate the ground. So you need to remove that. And what I would do is just take a metal tine rake and rake that out, remove it. Or the other option is to rototill it, chop it up so it's super fine, actually becomes more organic matter. But you can't just leave that dead sod. You need to deal with it.
Can we put down broadleaf weed control now for spring weeds?
Yeah, so yes and no. I wouldn't do a weed and feed this late in the season. Weeds are still prevalent, they're still rocking and rolling, but I wouldn't do a weed and feed granular. I would do something more along the lines of a topical spray. This is something you can mix with water and put into a tank sprayer with a wand, and basically go around and just hit those weeds. The best time to kill weeds is in the springtime, when it's flowering and thriving. But another good time is after the first hard frost, especially with Creeping Charlie. That's where you kind of need to wait till the frost to it zaps that protective coating on the leaf, and so it makes it more vulnerable. This is a great product to use because it's got 2,4-D and dicamba in there. It's not like Trimec, which is like Ortho Weeby gun. It's a little stronger. So this is a great killer, and you spray the leaf of the weed and it travels through the rhizome, through the root system, and kills it dead. You won't have any luck with that if you're plucking the weed or trying to dig it out. You're better off spraying it with a topical spray. So yes, you can certainly do weed control right now, but don't do a weed and feed. It's kind of late in the season.
So a viewer says, I heard gypsum is helpful to repair.
Yeah.
Gypsum
Yeah.
is helpful to repair dog pee damage. How does it work?
Yeah, so gypsum is a calcium sulfate. It's trace minerals. It's calcium and sulfur. There's no chemical. It's non-burning. You can't overdo it. It's a bag, granular, and you put it in a spreader and basically just kind of broadcast it out. And what it does is it moves the salts through the soil and allows that soil to kind of rest. It's also good for clay or compacted soil, so it helps kind of break up clay too. But what it does is it kind of neutralizes the salt in the urine from the dogs. I'll be honest with you, your best line of defense is water when it comes to dog urine. And then also snowplow damage like salt and grime from vehicles along your boulevard and driveway. You can use gypsum. I do it 2 times a year. I do it in the spring to kind of recover, and then I also do it in the fall, anticipating where my dogs do their business. I know where they're going to go, so I kind of hit that area, and it just kind of helps the grass bounce back in the spring better. It won't repair it, but it helps kind of alleviate the stress.
Does gypsum help repair snowplow damage?
Yep. So I kind of just touched on that one a little bit, but yes, so you can put that down along your boulevard, and it helps kind of move that salt and grime through the soil, kind of helps it bounce back quicker.
So if you're asking, I'd like to keep some of my marginal plants in containers over the winter. What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so you have to bring them in. You can't leave them out. A container out on your deck or your patio or whatever, the cold will radiate through that side wall of that container, and it'll freeze and kill the roots. And whatever that plant is, it will wipe it out. So you have to, at the very least, bring it into your garage and protect it, or better yet, bring it inside. And if you do bring it inside, we do have products for that too. We have topical sprays that you can spray the little creepy crawlies that come in on there. And this is something you can spray even on edibles, like herbs and things like that, if you want to move them in. Or you could do a systemic. The systemic, you never do that on an edible. What that does is it gets inside the vascular system of the plant and kind of kills from the inside out. So if the bug sucks or chews or bites on the leaf, it kills them. This one takes a couple weeks for it to kick in, but once it's in there for a long time. It's a good product. The topical spray is a little bit more effective in the short term. It goes to work right away, kills everything. Spray the top side and the underside of the leaf to the point of runoff. Just spray it, give it a bath, spray the soil, and then allow 2 hours for it to dry before you put it into your place where it's going to kind of call home, because you don't want a dog or a cat licking it. But it's a great a great product. Yeah.
So, one other question is, if I have a Zone 5 plant
Mm-hmm.
and it's in a container and I want it to bring it in, is it okay do I need to water it? How do I care for it in the garage?
Yeah, so I would still, kind of the same rules apply. Bring it in, water it regularly, because the air is, drier during the winter, so you're gonna have to keep up on your watering. I'd back off of your fertilizing. As the sun starts to kind of come back in, March and April, slowly put it out on your deck, transition in and out, put it out for the day, bring it back in at night, but start waking it up, and so at that time you can start feeding it. But during the winter months, reduce the fertilizing and the watering. And that is going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks for the questions. Again, all these products are here at Gertens. If you have any questions, come on in and see us. We'd love to talk to you. You can come in with your pictures on your tablet or on your telephone, and it kind of helps us diagnose your problems. And thanks for tuning in with us today.